I'm here with Lorraine Rodriguez, who is Kiara's grandmother, and who can ably relate the story of where she started and where Kiara is now and what happened in the meantime. Okay, over to you, Lorraine.
All right. Kiara was born on the 14th of October, 2010. She was born prematurely, 7 months and 2 weeks, but she was healthy. Close to a month after she was born, Kiara started to have some problems when breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't breathing properly while she was breastfeeding. So we took her to the health center because we thought she had developed a cold. Merely because she started getting some sounds, when you have the cold and you're breathing heavily. But when we took her to the health center, they said that she didn't have a cold. She was just developing some fluids, because she was prematurely developing some fluid in her nasal passage.
Right.
So for us to just administer some saline drops and she'll be fine. Well, we did that, and that didn't seem to work really. So a day or two after, when the problem persisted, we took her to Mount Hope Hospital, pediatric hospital. There again, they told us that she didn't have the cold after doing a chest X-ray. They said that she didn't have the cold, but because the secretion was hambugging her from feeding properly, they were going to keep her for 2 days feeding observation. They also said before they sent her up on the ward, they would have to do a routine test, which consisted of urine analysis, blood, and a spinal tap. I asked if it will be harmful to her in any way. They said no, so we agreed. They did the blood and the urine. It came back negative. They did the spinal tap 3 times. The first time the doctor tried, she didn't get through. So she was a new doctor, so she said she will call her superior to do it.
Okay.
He came, he did it the second time.
Yes.
He didn't get enough spinal fluid, so he said he's going to do it a 3rd time.
This must be very painful for a child.
Well, I would imagine. She was screaming through the whole thing. Well, and then they had to keep her in a fetal position because she had to be bent in order for them to do what they have to do. So while there, she was just screaming, not just crying, literally screaming.
How did you manage to put up with that?
It was hard, but at the time we thought, he's doctors and they know what they're doing and it's the best for her. So the one thing I asked is for us to be there. So I was there while all of this was happening.
Do you know what they were trying to do when they did the spinal tap? What were they looking for?
They said that they wanted to make sure that she didn't have any harmful bacteria in her system. So in order to do that, they had to do all these tests to make sure.
Right.
So they did the spinal tap, but they said that we wouldn't get the results until the following day.
Yes.
Well, eventually they sent us up on the ward. Well, sent Kiara on the ward. LaShawn had to accompany her. And once they were admitted on the ward, I left to go and get clothes for them to spend the 2 days. We were nearing home. My daughter called and said that Kiara was having some difficulty breathing. I said, okay, call a doctor, tell them. She said, Mommy, I'm telling the doctor that Kiara is having trouble to breathe and he's saying that baby's breathing fine. I said, okay, find another doctor, a nurse, somebody else, and I'll call you back. We proceeded to go get the clothes and go back to the hospital. On our way out of the street to head back to the hospital, LaShawn phoned and said that Kiara was unconscious. Uh, it was hard. My sister was driving at the
Yeah.
time. She lives in Barbados, but she was here with us around that time. So we had to compose ourselves
Sure.
in order to get back. You know, when we did get back to the hospital, I went to KIARA'S bed. I didn't see Lashauna's yet. I saw a whole lot of training nurses and there were doctors and around KIARA'S bed.
Yeah.
And when I did see KIARA, there was a doctor pumping air,
What, really?
but KIARA was in blood, unconscious.
When you say in blood, you mean...
She was laying in blood, so there was a pool of blood around KIARA.
Yeah.
She was lying there while they pumping air in her,
What, trying to make her breathe?
trying to get her to breathe. I stood there speechless, and then a doctor approached me and said, "Hi, good evening, you're the grandmother?" And I said, "Yes." Then everybody started to
Yeah.
disappear. That was so funny. But while I was there standing looking at KIARA, I heard a nurse or a doctor ask, "Who's taking notes?" So I looked around to see who's taking notes. And then there was like, "Oh, he's not here right now." So all of this is going on and nobody's taking notes. Anyway, the doctor called me aside. I saw LaShawn in another room, obliquely opposite where KIARA was. And the doctor is now telling me, "Well, I think that you all brought the baby in with a bleeding lung." I was like, "What? Impossible." Yeah, you all brought the baby in with a bleeding lung. I said, "That's not right." I said, "Because we were downstairs and we did a chest x-ray when we came through emergency and they showed no signs of a bleeding lung, nor even a sign of cold." I said, "KIARA is on the ward for feeding observation. If she was here with a bleeding lung, why is she not on the ward for feeding observation?" So he was like, "Oh, so you did an x-ray downstairs?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, can I see the x-ray?" I said, "Sure." He went, he looked at it, and then I asked, I said, "So now that you've seen the x-ray, then tell me, why is KIARA in all this blood?" I said, I know that she fell unconscious." I said, "Is it while you were trying to get the tubes in, you punctured her lung or something?" He said, "Oh, no, but I can't see anything right now. We have to wait and see." Excuse me. I said, "Okay." Well, they were there. They came with an x-ray machine. They did 2 other x-rays. They came and then they said, well, KIARA was unconscious for half an hour or so. So most likely she would be brain damaged.
Oh my God.
You know, even though they're telling me, or telling us, because LaShawn and my sister was there as well, even though they're telling us that, you know, it's still in registered brain damage, what could happen? So we was like, okay. I said, "So what will happen then?" So he was like, "I can't tell you the extent of what her brain damage would be, but she would be brain damaged to a point. But we will have to take her across to ICU because right now she's not breathing on her own. And they'll have to hook up to the machine and whatnot." They also said they weren't getting a pulse and getting a heartbeat or vice versa, something like that.
Just remind me, why did she go in the first place? What was wrong?
Cold. A cold that we thought she had. Because they kept saying that she didn't have the cold.
Yeah.
You know, long and short now, I don't know if it was then, her adenoids are swollen.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know. And she has the same sound that she had at that time.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, okay, maybe her adenoids were swollen then, but nobody ever checked her nostrils when we took her in.
So your little grandchild goes into a hospital
For a cold,
a
we
cold.
thought she had.
and comes out mentally crippled for life,
Yeah,
and nobody is admitting responsibility for this?
no.
So what happens now?
Well, while she was in ICU, no one came to speak with us until probably after 8 that night. This happened She fell unconscious around 2:30 that evening. When they came out, they said almost the same thing. She's on the machine. That they would have to do an MRI to see what's going on. They said they will do it the next day. And depends on what they see, they may have to go in to draw out whatever blood. No, actually, I think that was after they did the MRI that they told us that. Because after the MRI, they said that she had two separate bleeding in her brain. But she didn't get the MRI the next day. She probably got the MRI like 4 days or so after. While in ICU, she developed infection in both her lungs and also in her guts. She developed seizures. She was swollen. When I said swollen, she was just a little thing. And she was so swollen, you couldn't even see her eyelashes. And she has very long eyelashes. Her nose looked like it was down in her face. And there was this thing that they would clamp on their feet to check their pulse. It left a bruise on her instep, which she still has the markings of or from. Well, thank God, eventually she started to breathe. They sent her home on phenobarbital, a drug for seizures.
Strong drug.
Yeah. It seemed to have worked for a few days. And then we started to see her having some strange signs. I mean, we will put her down and her whole body will just pitch. Literally just...
And how old was she then?
A month. The day we took her in the hospital is when she turned a month.
And she had no sign of seizures until she came out of the hospital?
No sign of seizures until she was fine. With the space of time that she was home, we had taken her to the clinic. Yeah. Which was, routine. You take your baby back to the clinic. Yeah. And the doctors were, she's doing fine. She's growing well. She's gaining weight. She was rolling over to one side. She started to move backward as if she was trying to crawl. She was smiling. She was laughing. You could play peekaboo with her and she would respond. It was nice. And when she came home, she wasn't doing anything. She was on the phenobarbital and she would just lay there and stare to one side. And very unresponsive. You talk to her, you try to play peekaboo, she wouldn't laugh, she wouldn't smile. She wouldn't try to move. When we noticed her having the strange signs pitching across the room or whatnot, we took her back to the hospital. And I asked them to change the drug.